Good morning. Yes, it is morning here. Okay, so what I want to talk about today is lunging, pulling, leash walking, yada yada, that thing. Whole bag of chaos. All right, so I drive and I see people walking their I walk and walking, and I see people walking their dogs, and there's a tight leash between the dog and the human. Now, I didn't say the dogs are pulling their humans, because in fact the dogs are being dogs and they're walking, and the humans create a tight leash and the humans keep walking. So the dog is like, this is how we walk. I pull with them and they come with me. So the tight leash is part of what we do, and we move like that on a tight leash. Okay, we don't like dogs when most people don't want their dogs to pull them. I wouldn't, unless you have a sled dog, then you want the dog to pull. And actually that is how they teach them to do that. They put weights on them and have them drag heavy objects, and that teaches them to pull, and then they put heavier things and more pulling, and so and they put harnesses for the dogs for comfort, which come across this way, and they're padded. When you want a harness that helps you with your dog for you to have power steering, you want the leash to attach in the front, not the back, so that you can, this is sloppy, but if it were like tight, it will turn the shoulders so that you hook your leash here, and when you turn, the dog turns this way. Now, it's just for leverage and safety. It doesn't really teach your dog not to pull. What teaches your dog not to pull is your leash handling skills, number one. Also, encouraging your dog to be with you. If you have a fanny pack and you put their meal in the fanny pack, their kibble, and you go for a walk and you basically feed them their meal on the road, they are probably going to pay more attention to you. Just common sense. And that's just bait and lure. That's kindergarten. So when you're using food, remember to bait and lure, to prompt with food in any way, shape, or form. That's called bait and lure. I think that makes sense to everybody, hopefully. And that's kindergarten. Don't stay in kindergarten. The idea is that you want to have your dog get into pattern and habit of paying attention to you, and that's just a way to get them started. Now, that's all I'm going to say on that for the moment, because I really want to focus on leash handling. When you are on a leash with your dog and there's tension, I should have a leash to show you, but here, this cord will work. Okay, hey, there we are, there's the dog. And you have this pull. If you're pulling, then you're just going to get oppositional reflex, which is what you're doing on this end and they're doing on that end. You're both doing it. It's called oppositional reflex. Sounds like what it is. Opposition, opposite, okay, pulling, reflex. And it's a reflex. Part of this is the dog. So the dog's not going to go, oh, I have oppositional reflex, and all of a sudden stop for no reason, unless they're just sniffing something. So what we do is we relax, push your arm toward the dog and relax and create that slack. This isn't very good here. But you come into the dog, come into the dog this way and give the dog some slack. And see if the dog continues to pull. If they do, then just kind of roll back gently and then release quickly. Now, it's opposite from what you would have or have maybe heard from correction trainers who jerk the leash this way, or snap and pop, they call it, or correct. And that's a quick movement this way, which gets the dog to do that. That's not what I'm talking about, okay? What I'm saying is you have a dog on a proper harness, hooked over here, and the dog is still pulling, because they're wanting to go forward, and unfortunately humans continue to walk with their dogs when the dog pulls. I know everybody says, stop walking, and, yes, but there's more to it than that. The leash handling skill is if you stop walking, and then you can. Sometimes if you give the dog a little slack right there, just kind of push your arm out a little bit, the dog will be like, yeah, okay, we stopped, what's the deal, what are we doing? And then you quickly continue walking. The dog, oh, I guess we're going, and the dog will continue. Some dogs are that easy. Other dogs, not so much, and some dogs have been so conditioned to pull because of our reflex and their reflex that takes some work. So more time, let's put it this, okay. So rolling back with the leash and then quickly coming forward. Rolling back, see how my arm is moving back, and then quickly moving forward like that. So it's only this much you're using. You're not giving the dog the whole leash. It's just from here to here. It's just about this much. So you're rolling back and quickly moving forward. The quick forward is so that you create that slack and give the dog that opportunity to either just stop and look at you and go, what are we doing? Or maybe they might even just sit. I've seen dogs just stop and sit. Some dogs will continue to pull. Yep, if they do, you repeat, I call it rinse and repeat. Back and then release quickly, back, and it's a roll back. So like, whoa, pony, and then release. Like if you ride a horse, you don't jerk the horse back, and you don't hold the horse like this with the reins. You should get thrown off. You want to come back, whoa, and then relax. Whoa, and then relax. And that's the same principle, the same technique, the same leash handling, basic skill. You'd be surprised. Give it a shot. Don't do it in a busy street or where there's dogs and a lot of distractions. Just around where there's no distractions, just give it a shot to just see the difference in your dog's reaction to a loose leash as opposed to constantly, wrapping the leash up around your hand. I call it the death grip, where you have the leash is all wrapped up here and you're jacked up with your elbow and your arm here holding the dog. You think like, oh, I'm making him heel or her heel by keeping them near me. No, you're not. The dog is just being restrained. That's it. And then you end up with a dog that is learning, conditioned to create that tension on the leash. God forbid it's on a choke chain or a pinch collar, because now you're adding punishment on top of it. Oh well, us humans, we really don't think like a dog at all. And you're a human. That's okay. I'm not condemning anybody. I'm just saying you're a human, and that's the way it is. And dogs are dogs, and that's the way they think. That's why the whole tone of everything I'm trying to get to people educationally is that we don't think the same. Okay, so and they're not going to all of a sudden go, oh, I don't think like a human. But we can say, oh, I don't think like a dog. Okay, let's do that and help them and condition them. So moving forward, so that rock and roll, okay, rolling back, that kind of rolling back and popping forward, giving the slack, and then best case scenario with no distractions. And again, I understand there's no distractions here. The dog will probably stop or just they just stop. They just usually stop and look at you after a few of those, maybe 2, 3 tops, if there's no distraction. And then you, now the human, walk quickly. So once you have relaxed that, so you slowly went here and you popped forward, slowly rolled back, popped forward, and then the dog stops. Move, walk. Move, go, walk right past the dog if you have to. If the dog stays there and like, hey, where you going? Just walk right past him. And come on, let's go, buddy. And they're like, oh. So they start to get the idea that when the leash is loose, that's like a green light. Let's go. And you got to move. Don't sit at a red light. Don't sit at a green light. Okay, you got a green light. Go. If I get excited. If the light is red, whoa, because that's, pulling. Whoa, red light. Relax, out. Quickly pop your arm back out. Dog's not moving. Dog's sitting there. Move. Green light. Let's go. Move. And then the dog will start to get the idea, oh, tight leash is a red light, loose leash is a green light. And they get conditioned to that. They don't really care. They just want to go for a walk, and they'll do red light, green light. No problem. Now, distractions. Yes, we do have those everywhere. So when there is a distraction, you want to keep your distance as best you can. Use positive interrupters like boop, 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 or let's go, and then maybe a U-turn. So you kind of like, hey, hi. You're like this, and you're looking back at your dog. And you're, let's go, come on, let's go. And you encourage your dog with your body language, with your voice. Everything about you says, follow me this way. And it's not, pulling, screaming at your dog, or, hanging them. So you want to encourage your dog to come with you, because, they see something, that maybe a squirrel, or another dog or people coming, and they do that, which is either just normal, like, hey, there's something, or it can be a reactivity. The reactivity can be a low, medium, or real high reactivity. It's like, hey, there's something, or there's depending on how close the distraction is. That will also be a variable in there. There's a lot of variables here. But your job is to keep your dog's attention, to use your voice, your body, and any food and or squeaky toys, anything that will help your dog to look at you and follow you away from whatever that is. And practice. Now, practice, okay? Lots of practice when there's no distraction, doing U-turns and, hey, follow me. So out in the backyard, an empty parking lot, you're walking, and you go, and then you start to U-turn, and you, hey, let's go this way. And on a loose leash, not pulling your dog with you, but literally pushing your arm out toward the dog, creating slack, becoming very like, come on with me, moving and encouraging the dog to then move with you. Use everything you have, your voice, your body language, everything, and food when necessary, absolutely. Squeaky things, toys, balls, anything that will help your dog, condition your dog to focus on you and follow you, so that when there is a real distraction in life, you have at least a snowball's chance in hell of no, actually you don't have a snowball's chance in hell. That's another way of saying, I'm sorry, that's a bad analogy. You have somewhat of a chance to get your dog to move with you. Without practicing, you have a snowball's chance in hell. Okay, that would have been better. Anyway, so practice when there are no distractions. The movements, practice your movements, get your muscle memory in, get your dog's muscle memory going, make it a pattern of behavior, condition your dog to pay attention to you and follow you. Go ahead and put food in a fanny pack and carry it. If you need to do that in the beginning, absolutely. Hopefully you won't have to do that for very long. You really shouldn't do it forever. That's not... Basically, it's just keeping your dog in kindergarten, and we don't want to do that. All right, so let me see. Pulling, lunging, U-turns. I got that. Leash handling. Oh, it's so hard on the computer here to show you that. It's just really one of those things that you have to feel. It's like trying to tell somebody how to drive a stick shift here. It's a feel. Just don't put your dog on a short, tight leash. Long lines, very helpful. If you use, not a retractable, those are so dangerous. They're thin, they're sharp, they cut. Even the ribbon ones that are thicker, the insides are plastic, they break. You have, oh, excuse my breakfast is almost, yeah, breakfast here. It's almost ready. Okay, so you have that retractable thing. Please don't use them. They're very, very dangerous. Just trust me on this. I mean, you can ask people that do this work. Most people will tell you, yeah, they're just not the best choice. But a nice 15-foot nylon webbing type leash is fantastic, but you got to learn how to handle it. So I call it the cowboy lasso. You kind of hold that, kind of cowboy lasso it up, you know, so you have like it draping here and just draping over this hand. And then what I do is I'm right-handed, so I have a tendency to use my right hand to manage my leash and my left hand to anchor. So I just put the handle on this side. Now, there's a couple ways you can hold a leash. You can hold it like, put it over your thumb and then hold it through your hand like this. You can put it on your wrist and hold it like, you know, around your wrist, and then it comes out here, but it's an anchor. It's not going anywhere. Please don't hang it off your fingers. This is the most dangerous thing, to pick the handle of the leash and hang it off your fingers, because that can get pulled right out easily. So anyway, get your anchor. That's just your anchor. That's all that is. It is not it's not your working hand. It's just your anchor. You can also put it around your waist. If you have a man's belt, you take the handle of the leash and you put it on the belt, and then put the belt on and buckle it. Now your hand's free, which is great. You can get a fanny pack and you have so you've got a fanny pack on, you got your leash on, and both hands are free. Yay. So jazz hands. Don't mind me. All right. So anyway, you have your hands free, and but you have to manage your leash. So you have this hand, and you can support the leash and keep it in the air so that's not dragging. Or if you want to let it drag, it's perfectly okay. It really doesn't matter. The idea is that if there is something going on and you're walking down the street, that you can move to your, now you don't reel your dog in like a fish. Please don't do that. Don't pull the dog toward you, because that creates more of that oppositional reflex in lunging. You want to walk up the leash up to the dog. I think you get that, right? Hopefully. You're all going, yes, I get that. I can't see you, but I'm assuming. All right. So anyway, you walk up the leash to the dog, taking up the slack, and then into a cowboy kind of loop lasso. And now you're closer to the dog, wherever you need to be. Relaxing your arm, keeping there some slack. So even though you're closer to the dog, it doesn't mean you start doing this. Relax, let the leash have that little bit of a little slack in it between you and the dog, but you're much closer to the dog. You may only be this far away from the dog instead of this far away from the dog. Okay, on the 15-foot, I'm miniaturizing that. So you're way over here 15 feet, and you're like right here next to the dog, but there's still that nice piece that hangs between you and the dog. The long line, okay, I mentioned nylon because it doesn't rot out like the cotton. Those cotton training leads are really, they rot out very quickly, but the nylon ones will last forever. 15 feet is nice. It's not so much that you end up with the spaghetti leash all over the place, and it's manageable, but it's enough room for your dog to, when you stop somewhere at a place where it's appropriate, no man's land, you know, nobody's yard, just a nice place where maybe an empty spot where you can let the dog have the whole 15 feet and go sniff around, go to the bathroom, get some sniffing. Dogs need to sniff. It's the way they meditate, they relax. It helps them to relax and be calm. Also, to go potty. They'll go to the bathroom a lot faster if they can get further away from you, especially an older or let's call an adult dog. Puppies will pee on your shoe, but as they get older, they want to move further and further. You'll see this as your puppy. If you have a puppy, they just pee. You put them down, they pee. Then they'll start to move away from you to pee, and then they get further away. And when they have to have a bowel movement, they really want to get away from you, and so they're pulling to get away from you. And then people go like, you know, there we go, beginning right at the beginning, teaching a dog to pull. So let the puppy go as they move away from you. Give them that 15 feet. Let them go away from you, do their business, and then return to you, which is wonderful because then you can say, come, yay, they're going to come back anyway. Hey, why not? Label it. Labeling behaviors, another video. I have to do that one. Okay, so we have the 15 feet, and we're giving, this takes away a lot of the oppositional reflex because you're letting the dog move freely around, and just the only thing is not to pull, so that when they're pulling you stop. I don't care if it's 15 or 100 feet. You don't walk on a tight leash because you're conditioning the dog to pull. So the principle is the same no matter what the length is, 3 inches, 3 feet, or 30 feet. It's the same principle. So you stop walking if the leash gets tight. But if you give 15 feet, you'll be surprised how many times the leash does not get tight. And if you just keep walking, and you're, come on, buddy, let's go. Keep walking, come on, let's go. They get sniffing along the edge. Yep, let's go. You live in a neighborhood where you can it's not a lot of cars, and you can walk in the street. Keep them, great. God bless you, because that's always very, very nice. Now, if you don't have that in your life, and you're kind of restricted to a smaller area, understandable, but still there's got to be some spots where you can let the dog move around and sniff, and then you have to get from point A to point B on a shorter piece of leash. Okay, teaching the dog not to pull is really important in that case, because you don't want them dragging you from point A to point B. All right, I hope I've made my point. No pun intended there. Okay, so I think that's it. Oppositional reflex and practicing. Practice with no distractions, so that the dog and you both get muscle memory with that leash handling thing. And working on, look at me, follow me, let's go. Look at me, follow me, let's go. Away from distractions. Keep your distance from distractions. Only when absolutely necessary for safety and common sense do you literally pull your dog away. And when you have to do that, if a dog pops out from around the corner, or somebody moves quickly towards your dog and your dog goes off, just get out of there. You just, come on, let's go. And you just, let's go. And if you have to drag your dog away, it's what you got to do. Get your distance. Once you get your distance, and try to stay relatively happy. Come on, let's go. Hey, you're driving me crazy. Oh no, here we go. Run. Get into a safe area. Stop. Take a deep breath. And tell your dog, it's okay. You understand. No, I know they don't know what you're saying, but just kind of have that attitude of let's decompress here a minute. In a safe place, away from what was going on. Maybe have your dog just kind of let him sniff around, like both of you kind of shake it off, and practice again, and practice with distractions, so that no matter how close that distraction is, you have a chance to get away. You have that moment where you still have that opportunity that you can get your dog's attention and move away. That takes time and practice. Look at me, follow me, let's go. Not by pulling the dog with you. Do it off lead, in your yard, in your house, randomly. Hey, Fido. Hey, puppy. Fido, come on, let's go. And then run away from your dog, and your dog follows you. Make it a fun game. And then when your dog gets to you, play with them, throw a ball. If you want to give them a piece of food, fine. But make it fun. Make it a game. Make it a conditioned response. There you go. Okay? Conditioned response. Look at me, follow me, let's go. I think that's it. I think I'm going to go. Bye.